All right, here we go. So we're live, and welcome everybody. Welcome to the show. I'm Jeff,
and I'm Liz,
and welcome to the another episode of Random Tan Experience.
Yeah,
so awesome. So we're a couple of minutes late this evening. We were a little bit just crazy. It's been it's been a crazy day. So we've been just a little bit of a catch up. Obviously, yesterday was Halloween, so we're. Actually, it's funny because when I was thinking about what we were to talk about tonight, I didn't realize, we should have talked about we will talk a little bit about what we do with all the Halloween candy and the way different strategies we've used over the years. Then we're also going to talk about choosing post-secondary, a post-secondary education path, how our philosophy has changed over the couple of years, or based on things that we've learned, the ups and downs of being work from home entrepreneurs, and and I think the main thing is sorting the socks, because I was on a thread, a large family thread earlier on today, and somebody was asking how do you manage socks and stuff, so which is a big one. It's a very it's big,
surprising how big it is.
Yeah. So but anyway, so it's just been, I know last week we broadcast our first ever rerun because we had a very special guest over for dinner at our house, dear old friend of ours, and it was great. It's always good to see it's always good to see old friends and stuff. So hey, Father Morosco, if you're watching, it was awesome to see you last week, and we'll see when you come back. And what else did we do? So we've been apple picking. Did we talk about apple picking already? I can't remember. You guys, who are watching on a regular basis will remember maybe a couple of episodes ago we talked about Grounders Day at Avalon Orchards, that we went apple picking. So we finally processed most of those apples. We kept a bushel
after a slight mishap with
the
canning process.
So sometimes, see, when you're rushing, and you don't have a process, sometimes things don't go.
Sometimes doing things on the fly is good.
Yeah, and sometimes you really have to follow the system.
It doesn't work out the way you hope.
No, because what had happened was we did our applesauce, and we made all of our applesauce, but it was late at night, and we said, oh, you know what, we'll just we'll leave it.
The processing of the jars in the morning.
And so the next morning when came and we canned all the jars, and I said, okay, well, I'm gonna process them for extra long, so just because they'd been out overnight, and make sure that everything was all gone. Well, it turns out that you can overheat these jars when you process them
in the boiling process.
Yeah, that and so we had a couple of jars explode, which was sort of interesting, and then we we had and we also discovered that we hadn't boiled out all the water.
Yeah, because the jars that didn't explode, a lot of them overflowed.
Yeah, we didn't realize it. So
we've never seen that happen before.
Yeah.
So we actually ended up having to reprocess, like reboil down the sauce, because all the jars that had overflowed, then the seal is not
good. So we had to.
It's not good. There's no integrity to the seal.
Yeah. So we had to
redo all that.
Redo all that. So anyway, so that was that was interesting, a lot of fun. But yeah, and then homeschooling and
yes,
in between all of that. So
yeah.
And now one of our little ones is asking me to tuck him in. So I'm just going to go tuck in somebody. But
yes. So one of the things that, while Jeff is out of the room here, that I'm just going to sort of throw out there is, I think the question I get asked most often is simply, how do you do it? You have 9 kids, and it just seems like so much. And how do you just manage? And I think the thing I could say is that, for most of us, our kids come one at a time, and ours have come one at a time. So we've never had twins or triplets. That's a whole other level of awesomeness that I have. I bow down to people who have twins and triplets. But the thing that I've really come to we really underestimate ourselves, and we underestimate the greatness that we're called to. You know, we're kind of comforted a lot in our society, and we're told to you know, be really focused on what makes us happy and fulfilling our passions and all that stuff. And really, there's a level of stretching yourself that you never get to if that's all you do. And I think a lot of us get caught up in the idea of we have so much control over so much. And sometimes when you're moving to another level, there's a lot of a feeling of not having that control. And so you kind of have to give up that feeling of control for a bit before you get to the next level of feeling like you know what you're doing. And really, most of us can be stretched, and most of us can accomplish a lot more than we think we can. And so I think my main message is that while it might look crazy, and I have so many people tell me, oh, I could never do it, I think you absolutely could if you allowed yourself to try. That's my main thing. You absolutely could if you allowed yourself to try. That's my. And Jeff's back.
Yes, and I'm back, and I'm actually just sending a text. I'm just sending a message now to somebody who just messaged me. So I'm going to say hi. Hey, Stephanie, it's good to hear from you. So,
I'm gonna
sure, go. You're going to hop.
for a minute, hop off.
So, all right. So, one of the things that just kind of get my train of thought back. So we're talking about choosing a post-secondary education path, right? So what our philosophy on choosing a post-secondary education path is. And over the last couple of years, it's changed quite significantly. Like, I mean, when we went to school, everybody talk to us about, choosing your courses because you kind of want to have a, career path, what you want to, an idea of what you want to be doing. There were those aptitude tests, thinking about, maybe, like what you're good at. Anyway, but what we've really come to realize is that when you graduate high school, especially now in the province of Ontario, where we're graduating kids at 17, it's a little too young to know what you want to do for the rest of your life. In fact, we're still figuring out stuff that we want to do for the rest of our lives, right? So, because that's going to change. More and more kids are realizing now that 90% of the stuff that they learn while they're in university right now is going to be obsolete when they're done. And it's a fact, that once you come out of school, you're going to be learning stuff that for a large part is not going to be relevant anymore. So it's a struggle to keep relevant, so you're almost even, starting from behind. So when our older kids decided that they wanted to go back to high school, one of the things that I was very, clear to them about, like I had a good discussion with them about, was to choose courses that they felt like they would enjoy. And when you choose courses that you feel like you're going to enjoy, you'll do well in them, your marks will be better, right? And then afterwards, you can sort of determine a path. You can determine a path after that, but just realize that your life can change every 5 years. Your career can change every 5 years, and so really teaching our kids, more to decide what they want to do based on the lifestyle that they want to live, as opposed to the career that they want to see themselves in. As opposed to the career that they want to see themselves in. So, and I've spoken about this before, where, Gavin, our oldest, decided he wanted to take auto shop, ended up falling in love with it, and now is, taking the steps to, to apprenticeship programs, to be a mechanic. Aileen is really enjoying her cosmetology course, and yesterday we met with a hairstylist who works in sort of like the upper end of the industry, and had a little conversation with him too about that. So that was really cool, and just all the different things, the different avenues, the different opportunities that are available after high school. And it's not just your standard doctor, lawyer, accountant.
There's a whole lot of other paths out there that are needed to make the world go round.
And in terms of what people choose these, like the paths of the accountant or the doctor or the lawyer, because what they're really talking about is that there's a certain esteem attached to those to those professions, but the reality is there are, and with that esteem also is the illusion of the income that comes with those those professions. And I'm not saying that the income isn't good. The income, it can be quite significant in some of those professions, but the amount of effort, the amount of work, the amount of stress, the amount of debt, the amount of debt that you come out, of those professions with, like out of school with, you're paying off that education for a long time. So those are things that we are really making our kids aware of. Like for us being, entrepreneurs, we've learned that, you don't have to have a lavish lifestyle, but if you have an income that's coming in passively, like right now, that's where we are. We've got an income that's coming in what does it do? check. Are we still on? Okay, I think we're back now.
Yeah, we're back.
I think we're back.
Maybe. Nope, frozen.
Nope, but the
Glitchy?
mic, yeah, glitchy, but the mic
moving?
is on.
The
Okay,
mic is
good.
on.
All right, so, hey everybody, I think we're back now. We had a little bit of a technical issue there, and I think I think.
And as I was just saying, sometimes technology replaces you or makes you obsolete.
Yeah, that's right. So, we were just talking about,
Yeah.
choosing a career path. If you just
Yeah.
joined in, and thanks for everybody who, kept faith and kept watching us.
But I think
Okay, good.
I've heard a statistic not long ago that the average person now can expect to have about 7 different career paths throughout their working life.
Mm-hmm.
They'll be changing not just positions within a company, but changing careers up to 7 times. And that's an average. Obviously, there are some people who are going to find a position and stick with it. But there are many people who are going to find many paths, even more than that, more than the 7. It's the average.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely a job market and an environment where what a lot of our parents were raised with and what we were raised with is not the expectation. So the expectations that we have, we need to be replacing them with a little bit more of a realistic evaluation of what actually is the situation.
And I think what's going to happen, what we're going to see in the next few years, especially, is, a return to, I'm going to say a more agrarian lifestyle, but not, I don't mean, like in the whole, like zombie apocalypse, we got to all go back to farming. But, 150, 200 years ago, before we had mass education the way that we have it today, people were farmers, people were entrepreneurs, people really,
many more people ran their own
business,
businesses.
and there were different ways of generating. It wasn't all about generating income. It was about working to live, not living to work.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And now, especially now, like if you take a look at what, when you ask somebody, what do you do, or what are you, right? Like, people identify themselves with a career, right? So people identify themselves with, with their position, as opposed to, being, being parents, or being,
their internal identity more.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and you hear a lot more about that, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
people are starting to wake up. People are starting to say, people are starting to, look for their passions, finding their passions, finding their life path. I wonder if I can change that, because I had it set there before. I'm just experimenting with something here. Just typing out our email address.
Never a dull moment. That's
No.
for sure. But yeah, I mean, we know a lot of people who are just, finding ways to develop their passion and then make that marketable.
Yeah.
And creating their own.
Yeah, and then creating
their own niche market, because they have found something that they love and that they're good at and that people will value.
Yeah. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And, and there's, I think good little one, it's a roller coaster though. So I think, this is, when I was talking about this, or when I was thinking about talking about this tonight, I did want to talk about how it is a real roller coaster to start your own, enterprise, to start your own business, to jump into the world of entrepreneurship. I've had a couple of friends talk to me or ask me lately about, what it takes to start their own business. And it's just a decision, really. To start your own business is a decision, but it takes to keep going at it, right? To keep going at it and to build it and to really develop it. That's that's the roller coaster ride, because you've got to protect your head space, you've got to protect your heart space, you got to figure out what your mission is, because I'll tell you, if money sole motivator, it's not going to carry you, because there's tons of things that you can do for money, right? There's lots of things that you can do for money, but where when people talk about wanting a certain amount of money, it's because there's a certain feeling that they're associating with that. There's a certain lifestyle that they're associating with that. There's a certain outcome. Oh, when I have X amount of dollars, it means that I can do X, Y, Z.
And then I will feel.
X,
Y, Z.
Right? So once you realize that the money and the feeling are two completely separate things, then you can understand, okay, well, this is what I can work for, because it doesn't have to be about the money, right? It doesn't have to be about, the millions or thousands or hundreds of dollars, that you need, or that you think you need for, all of these things. So anyway, so that's sort of where our, a long-winded answer of how we've kind of taken a look or changed, our philosophy on post-secondary education. Really encouraging our own kids to think of, to look at the world entrepreneurially, not to be afraid to, choose a lifestyle or out of the box lifestyle. I've got former students of mine actually traveling the world, taking pictures, doing this and that here and there, and and having the most amazing experience. So I mean, that's really cool, right? Like, that's a really cool, really cool thing, to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we're coming up we are coming up to the top of the hour, and we got to talk about the main socks. Okay, so the main thing, socks.
We have a lot of feet in this house.
We got a ton of feet in this house. And if I was to do the quick calculation, which I'm not, because, we've got 12 people in this house.
People, so 24 feet.
24 feet plus, then you times it by, if we only had a pair of socks for every day of the week.
That would be
24 times 7.
24 times 7. I don't know.
So whatever that is, right?
12 times 7 is 84.
Times 2 is 168.
168.
That's 168.
168 socks.
Yeah, 168 socks.
168 pairs?
I don't know. Anyway, so somebody's going to figure that out and add it in the comments. So thanks for that. There's a lot of socks.
Laundry load on its own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my personal philosophy or my personal feeling is I would rather buy them every 6 months and just like throw them out, right? Like every 6 months, just go on a sock hunt, gather every sock that there is and just throw it out, and then buy a whole new, complement of socks. Liz is not on the same page with that.
It's just not always.
It's not always practical, and I get it.
Yeah.
Right. So but
I wouldn't always call it economically wise.
No, it's not, right? But I mean, it's like 150.
I mean, there are times we've done that.
Yep.
Where we've just like, okay, we're done sorting the ones with the holes and the odd one out and the mismatch, and this is a whole basket full of odd socks. And what do you do once you have a whole laundry basket full of odd socks? You just can't make that many puppets.
Yeah, it's and gone are the days when it was more economical to fix your socks. It's just not. It's not worth it. So anyway, so things that we've done over the years, we have tried getting each person in the house their own sock
color.
bag. First it was the sock bag.
First was the sock bag.
Yeah, first was the sock bag.
And that worked really well for a long time.
It really did.
So everyone had their own mesh laundry bag with their name written on it in permanent marker. And dirty socks would go in the bag. The bag would go in the washer, would go in the dryer, go back to the person, and they would pair up their socks, put them in their drawer.
Yeah.
And then start filling the bag again once they dirtied their socks.
Yeah, and so that worked really good. But then, I think what happened was when we moved here, we just like all of our the systems that were working in our old house, we never really got a chance to re-implement.
That one didn't come back on track.
No, it really didn't. So maybe we can put that.
Maybe we need to added more people and we didn't have enough sock bags.
Yeah, so I think maybe we can. Yeah, well, maybe we.
The other thing we tried was having each person have their own color. So one kid had white socks and one kid had black socks and one kid had gray socks, and then the girls had varieties of pink and purple and blue. I think there was some that were blue.
Yeah,
and that worked for a while. It wasn't quite as good as the sock bags.
No.
But it made it easier for when you're digging through the basket.
Yeah, to find socks.
Okay, if it's a white one, another white one, I know they go to this person.
Because we have one of our kids cannot see the trees for the forest. Like there are 15 million pairs of socks in the basket. Socks, I can't find socks. And we dude, we got to go to church right now, and I can't find socks. I can't, so anyway, so it drives me absolutely crazy. If there's one thing that drives me bananas,
it's the battle of
the socks,
sometimes the socks win.
Yeah, sometimes they really
you just throw up your hands and say,
yep,
give up.
Yeah, and and because in my socks get lost in the piles of everybody else's socks. That's the worst, right? Is because I try to keep my own socks, separate, when I can, and then sometimes
then your kids grow up to be the same size as
right,
you.
and then they steal your socks, right? So then that that's a whole different,
a whole other level.
Yeah, a whole different thing, and then all of a sudden, I've got no socks, and right? How do I have no socks? It's like
I 2 weeks after buying a bag of 20 pairs of socks.
Yeah. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Right. And they're gone. Where are they? I can find one. I find one with the big hole in it. So socks. The pain, the struggle is real. Oh, look at that. We actually got gonged tonight.
We did.
But that's not our fault because, we had some technical issues.
Technical issues.
Yeah, we got technical issues and stuff, right? But the pain is real. The struggle is real. All we can say is for those of you with large families who are dealing with the sock thing, you are not alone.
And if you have found a solution,
please email
us.
Yeah, please email us. And we'll share it with everybody. Please email us. randomtanexperience@gmail.com. What do you do? What do you do with your socks? So drop us a line, follow us on Facebook, in our group, just request to join the group, #randomtanexperience, or just email us, email us and we'll talk to you guys later. Okay. Talk to you guys next week.
Everybody.